Most people think greatness is something you're born with. They look at legends and assume it was destiny, talent, luck, perfect timing. But Kobe Bryant never believed that. He believed the most important decision you will ever make in your life is deciding what standard you're willing to live by when no one is watching. Because life doesn't care about your potential. It doesn't care about your excuses. It only responds to what you do, consistently. And the truth is, most people don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they never fully commit to who they want to become. Kobe used to say, "Everything negative, pressure, challenges, is all an opportunity for me to rise." That wasn't a quote for Instagram. That was a way of living. Commitment over comfort. Happiness isn't something that magically appears when life gets easier. Discipline comes first. Commitment comes first. And only then does fulfillment show up. Kobe understood something most people avoid. Life is going to be hard anyway. You can choose the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And he made that choice early. Not when he was winning championships. Not when the crowd was cheering. But when the gym was empty. When the alarm went off before sunrise. When nobody would have blamed him for sleeping in. Because excellence doesn't start on game night. It starts in the dark. You find what you look for. If you go looking for reasons to quit, you'll find them everywhere. Bad teammates, bad coaches, bad luck, bad circumstances. But Kobe believed you find what you're looking for. If you look for weakness, you'll see it. If you look for excuses, you'll collect them. If you look for reasons to be average, they'll surround you. But if you wake up and say, "I'm going to find evidence of progress today," your chances of moving forward instantly go up. That's not toxic positivity. That's responsibility. It's understanding that you don't control everything, but you do control what you chase. Perspective through gratitude. Kobe wasn't delusional about pain. He respected it. Injuries, losses, criticism, failure on the biggest stages. But he refused to let one bad moment define the whole story. Even on the worst days, he kept perspective. Because when you obsess over what's going wrong, you forget how much is already working. And the dangerous part is this. You put more emotional energy into your losses than you ever put into your growth. Negativity feels familiar. It feels justified. But it doesn't make you better. And Kobe knew that. The cost of negative self-talk. You already know how to talk yourself down. Everyone does. You know exactly how to say, "I'm tired. I'll do it tomorrow. I'm not built like that. I'm just not that person." Kobe knew those thoughts too. But he also knew something else. What you repeatedly say to yourself eventually becomes how you show up. If you feed doubt, your body follows. If you rehearse weakness, your habits reflect it. That's why he trained his mind as aggressively as his body. Because confidence isn't arrogance, it's preparation. Responsibility is the turning point. At some point, Kobe stopped blaming circumstances. He stopped pointing outward. He took it all personally. Not in a toxic way, but in an empowering one. He believed that if his performance wasn't where it needed to be, the answer wasn't excuses. The answer was work. No shortcuts. No sympathy. No complaining. Just responsibility. And responsibility is uncomfortable because it removes every place to hide. Discipline is not convenient. Greatness is not designed to fit neatly into your schedule. It demands sacrifice. It demands consistency. It demands standards. Kobe didn't wait to feel motivated. He trained because it was required. He didn't negotiate with his comfort. He held the line. No slack. No excuses. No exceptions. That's discipline. And discipline isn't about being extreme. It's about being reliable. Knowing what you want. At some point, you have to ask yourself the same question Kobe asked. What do I actually want? Because if you don't know that, your time will be stolen by distractions. Every opportunity will look equal. Every excuse will sound reasonable. But when you know what you want, your decisions get sharper. You start measuring your actions differently. Is this moving me closer? Is this aligned with who I'm trying to become? That clarity is power. Momentum comes from action. Discipline doesn't just make you work harder, it makes you finish things. And when you finish things, you build belief. When you build belief, you create momentum. Kobe didn't wait to feel ready. He moved, and readiness followed. He woke up and pursued it, every single day. Not because it was easy, but because that's what the standard required. Pause. Music swells slightly. This is where most people stop listening, because this is where excuses start to feel uncomfortable, and this is exactly where Kobe leaned in. People love the phrase Mamba Mentality. They put it on shirts. They turn it into captions. But what most people miss is this. It was never meant to sound cool. It was a system, a code, a way of operating when motivation disappears. Mamba Mentality wasn't about hype. It was about standards. Obsession isn't the problem, lack of direction. A lot of people are afraid of the word obsession. They think it means imbalance. They think it means burnout. Kobe didn't see it that way. He believed obsession without purpose is dangerous. But obsession with purpose is mastery. He wasn't chasing validation. He wasn't chasing applause. He was chasing improvement. Every workout had intent. Every repetition had meaning. Every weakness had a target on its back. That's why he studied film when others rested. That's why he practiced footwork when others just shot around. That's why he broke the game down into pieces and rebuilt himself layer by layer. Not because he loved suffering, but because he loved excellence more than comfort. Balance is earned, not given to people love to ask. How did Kobe balance life? The uncomfortable answer is, he didn't, not at first. Early on, he chose imbalance. He chose seasons of sacrifice, because balance without achievement is just stagnation. He understood that you can't demand a peaceful life before you've paid the price for the life you want. There are seasons where you grind. There are seasons where you learn. There are seasons where you endure. And if you avoid those seasons, you avoid growth. Suffering as a teacher. Most people see pain as a signal to stop. Kobe saw it as information. Pain told him where he was weak. Failure told him where he was incomplete. Criticism told him where he needed clarity. Instead of running from discomfort, he leaned into it. Because the truth is, you don't grow when things are easy. You grow when things test you. That's where skill sharpens. That's where identity forms. That's where separation happens. The difference between talent and craft. Talent gets you noticed. Craft makes you undeniable. Kobe never relied on being gifted. He relied on being prepared. That's why when pressure hit, he didn't panic. Because pressure doesn't create character, it reveals it. Shuten and his character had already been built in thousands of unseen hours. While others hoped they'd perform, he knew he would. Because hope doesn't come from confidence. Confidence comes from work. Why he took everything personally. Kobe took things personally, not out of ego, but out of ownership. If he lost, it was on him. If he missed the shot, it was on him. If the team failed, it was on him. Not because everything actually was his fault, but because responsibility gives you control. The moment you blame someone else, you give your power away. He refused to do that. And that mindset is uncomfortable because it forces you to confront yourself. But it's also freeing. Because once it's on you, you can fix it. Loneliness at the top. Here's a part people don't romanticize. The standard Kobe lived by naturally separated him from others. Not everyone wanted to train that hard. Not everyone wanted to be held accountable. Not everyone wanted to push that far. And that can feel lonely. But he accepted that trade-off. Because being understood was never more important than being great. And that's a hard truth. The higher your standards, the smaller your circle. Consistency over emotion. Kobe didn't wait to feel inspired. He didn't let mood dictate effort. Some days he felt great. Some days he didn't. The work stayed the same. That's what separates professionals from amateurs. Amateurs work when they feel like it. Professionals work because it's who they are. And identity outlasts emotion. Music slows slightly, controlled tension. This is where most people quit. Not because they can't do it, but because they don't want to live this way. And that's fine. But Kobe made his choice. Greatness isn't defined by how high you rise. It's defined by what you do when you fall, publicly, painfully, and without excuses. And no one understood that better than Kobe Bryant. Failure is not the end. It's the curriculum. Kobe didn't avoid failure. He walked straight into it. Missed shots in crucial moments, playoff losses, seasons that didn't end the way he wanted. And instead of rewriting the story to protect his ego, he studied the failure. Frame by frame. Decision by decision. Because failure wasn't an identity, it was feedback. Most people fear failure because they attach it to who they are. Kobe separated performance from self-worth. You fail at something. That doesn't mean you are a failure. It means there's a gap between where you are and where you need to be. And gaps can be closed. Criticism will find you. Especially if you're serious, the moment you decide to pursue excellence, criticism becomes unavoidable. Kobe was called selfish, difficult, too intense, too demanding. But he understood something most people don't. Criticism is often the price of clarity. When you know exactly what you're about, people who aren't aligned will feel uncomfortable. And instead of shrinking to be liked, he chose to be precise. Because popularity fades. Standards don't. Mental reconstruction after setbacks. There were moments when quitting would have been understandable. Injuries, aging, doubt from the outside. But Kobe never tried to return to who he used to be. He evolved. He adjusted his game. He refined his skill set. He leaned into intelligence, timing, and precision. That's the mark of mastery, not stubbornness, but adaptation. The goal isn't to repeat the past. The goal is to keep progressing. Legacy is built in the quiet moments. When people talk about Kobe's legacy, they mention championships, awards, highlights. But the real legacy lives elsewhere. It lives in the mindset he modeled, the discipline he normalized, the example he set when no cameras were rolling. Legacy isn't what you say you value. It's what your habits prove you value. And long after the noise fades, that's what remains. Beyond basketball. When Kobe stepped away from the game, he didn't step away from growth. He took the same principles, focus, curiosity, discipline, and applied them to learning, storytelling, and mentorship. Because identity isn't tied to a role. It's tied to a way of being. Basketball was the arena, but mastery was the mission. Why these lessons still matter today. In a world addicted to shortcuts, Kobe's approach feels uncomfortable. It asks more of you. It removes excuses. It demands honesty. But it also gives something rare: control. Control over your effort. Control over your standards. Control over who you become. And that's why his legacy still resonates. Not because everyone can be Kobe Bryant, but because everyone can live with intention. The final choice. At the end of the day, you face the same choice he did. Lower the standard or rise to it. Make excuses or make progress. Wait for motivation or build discipline. Kobe chose the harder path, not because it was guaranteed, but because it was honest. And that choice is still available to you every single day.